My first ischemic stroke, a 2-year review. Globally, around 12 million people experience a new stroke each year, and almost 100 million people are living with the effects of a stroke. Lifetime risk of stroke has increased by 50% over the past 20 years, with 1 in 4 adults predicted to experience a stroke during their lifetime. Most strokes are ischemic, lack of oxygen to the brain due to a blockage, accounting for about 65% of cases, while intracerebral haemorrhage, bleeding, represents 29%, and subarachnoid haemorrhage about 6%. In January 2024, my wife Iskra and I were in Sarafovo, a beach town south of Bourgas International Airport, Bulgaria. We had just visited Marlen, a close relative who had a lovely boy, Emil, Emko. Marlen was a week away from delivering her second son, Toshko. On leaving, we stopped at a Billa supermarket to buy Bourgas sea salt. Through a loudspeaker, I heard Paul McCartney's No More Lonely Nights for the first time. I liked it, especially the whining guitar. As I was browsing, I noticed a young woman staring at me. I imagined that she thought that I was shoplifting. I moved away. When we were done, we continued driving on the 2-hour journey to our country home. My wife discovered that she had left her handbag at Marlene's flat. So, after having driven for 20 minutes, I turned the vehicle around and drove back to collect the bag, which contained many valuable documents. Then continued, once again, on our drive home. When we were just half of an hour away from home, we stopped at another supermarket in Yambol, Lidl, to purchase other items. Again, I noticed a woman staring at me. At the time, I had no idea as to why. This wasn't commonplace. Later, my wife commented that my driving had a tendency to veer towards the left. We arrived home and retired for the night. Now, my memory is unclear. On waking up, I discovered that I'd had a stroke. Were those 2 women staring because my face was drooping? I have entertained the idea they could have been angels who appeared in human form to warn me, but I do not know. What I did know was that my capabilities were now those of a newborn. Iskra phoned for an ambulance. The medic arrived and gave me an injection for high blood pressure, and that was that. Later, a neighbour lent me a walking cane and other helps. Her husband had also suffered from strokes, but was now bedridden. And so began a long path to recovery. I started walking quite soon. A friend, a female pensioner, advised me to use a walking cane. I didn't understand her words, but from her body language understood. I told my wife that I didn't want to become dependent on a stick, but after falling a few times, took the stick with me when I was out and used it when I became tired. Eventually, I was walking a kilometre on my morning walk and sometimes another one on an afternoon stroll. I really didn't walk. I hobbled forward, stopping every 4 to 6 steps to regain strength and balance. It was on these walks that I made friends with a female cat. It was great to be trusted by another creature. She didn't understand that I had a stroke, of course, just that I talked calmly to her and stroked her. 3 months later, I was cutting my neighbour's grass, using a self-propelled mower. He was in England. I still remind myself that ischemic stroke is the result of a lack of oxygen to the brain. Cells have died, and other neurons must grow, or if present, take over new tasks. Now, 2 years later, I am still tired much of the time, though not as severely as initially. During the summer of 2024, my wife drove us to our studio flat at Sunny Beach. We were to walk 15 minutes to the shoreline, and if the waves were minimal, wade out and float on the water, even attempting backstroke, a different type of stroke. When floating, held up by my wife, I felt almost normal, a nice feeling. The following summer, we were there again. I was now walking using my stick. I would walk down to the beach and back on my own. One day, I walked 6,200 steps. My phone recorded the steps. The next day, only a quarter of that. My calves were aching. Then a couple of days later, my wife went to buy food. She returned to find me sitting on the floor. I'd had a second stroke. I'll cover that in a later video.